What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Again, I think I say this in every intro, but it has been a hot minute since I picked up a camera. I got a new camera, which is awesome, and I obviously can't show you what it is because I'm using it, but I'm absolutely in love with it. It was time that I upgraded. I'm officially retiring filming on my phone. And I have upgraded to this guy. So welcome to the video. Today I wanted to walk you guys through kind of something that I've gotten asked a lot recently. How do I track my progress? And so when I say progress, it can mean a million different things. But today I wanted to talk about specifically how I track progress inside the gym. Like, well, what's the importance of that? It's just too time consuming, Casey. Like, I see people carrying around journals and all that good stuff, and that's just not for me. That's totally fine. But I feel like if you want to see progress, it would be really beneficial. You don't have to do it forever. But especially if you're in a season or if you have a specific goal in mind, I think it's super, super important to track that in some way, whatever that looks like for you. And so I just wanted to kind of start the video out with that. I mean, you have to think about it. It's really hard to track or know how much you're progressing unless we track it, right? I use this example all the time, but how would we know how much money we have if we weren't tracking our bank account, right? It's the same thing. It just gives us a good picture of, where we were, where we are, and potentially like where we want to be, right? It helps us create goals for ourselves. So it's hard to even notice your progress unless you're tracking it. And then second of all, it's really hard to progress at a certain goal if you're not tracking it, if that makes sense. How do we know if we're even progressing at anything, if we don't even remember where we started? So there's got to be a starting point. You have to track something, right? I'm going to dive right in and kind of give you guys a lowdown on how I track my progress in the gym. I broke this down into about 3 different steps. I think there are 3 main things that you want to focus on if you've never tracked before, if you've just started going to the gym, or if you've just started working out, and you want to see some progress, lifting more weight. Like, I want to go up in weight. I want to be able to do more reps. I want to be able to X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank. Whatever your goal is, you have to see progress. So step 1, find a way to track that works for you. And so what I mean by that is, like I mentioned earlier, old school ways to do a journal. And honestly, that's what I like. I'm very much a paper person. I have a paper planner. I write everything down. That's just who I am. I would like to rely on a journal. I don't want to keep using my phone in the gym. That's just, I use it for music, and so I don't want to disrupt my music, if that makes sense. So this is my journal that I just finished about a week ago. So I typically like to have not a huge notebook, because it's going in my gym bag, a medium-sized journal. So how I kind of, can you see that? Okay, so I'll go into this later, but get a journal, be consistent with that. So that's my journal now. Honestly, this isn't my favorite, but I had it laying around and I really needed a journal. So this is my new one now. It's bigger than I want it to be, but it works. And there's a journal, use an app. There's tons of apps out there. If you just want to use your phone and use the notes, use that. If you want to do more like Excel spreadsheet kind of thing, do that. Find a way to track it and find a way that works for you. So step 2, get your baseline data. Get a plan, right? That's the first thing. Whether it's hiring a coach, whether it's finding a workout plan online, whatever it is, write it out beforehand, before you get to the gym, so you know what you're doing when you get there. And as you go, write what you do. That's step 2A. Step 2B, be consistent with it, right? Just keep doing it. Honestly, what I do is I keep my journal in my gym bag all the time. If it's there, if it's in your gym bag, if it's always with you, it's just a lot easier to use. And disclaimer, I know not everyone really wants to like pull a journal out in the middle of the gym. That may not be your thing, and that's totally fine. But what I would say to that is, if you really don't want to do that, then as soon as you leave the gym or later that day, go back and write everything down you did so that you don't forget. And then the third and final step I would say is, once you get that baseline and that consistency down, challenge yourself. Don't do the same thing over and over and over again without any kind of progression, right? Push yourself, increase the weight, increase the reps. If you guys want me to do a more detailed video on how to progress in your workouts, like how to kind of form your workouts and your sets and your rep range and things like that, I'd be more than happy to. Just leave a comment down below and that can be an upcoming video. But yeah, so step 3, just challenge yourself. Don't stay stagnant, always work towards something else, whether it's a heavier weight or whether it's a higher rep, whether it's a more advanced move, always progress, guys. So I kind of covered the basis of, you know, what it takes to track your progress in the gym. I also wanted to take this video, since it's relatively short, I do have some workout footage from the other day that I didn't really want to like elaborate on or anything. I just kind of wanted to throw it in here. And so what I'm gonna do is go ahead and start playing that. But I also wanted to touch on kind of how I lay out my workout. A lot of people are kind of confused and may not really know what may be the best way or the more beneficial way to kind of plan your actual workout, like when you get to the gym. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Okay, so unfortunately I did not film this part, but the first thing that you want to do getting to the gym is a proper warm-up. This could look like 5 to 10 minutes on the treadmill or the stair mill, the elliptical, whatever that may be for you, just to kind of get your body warm, especially if you have a sedentary job, desk job, you're sitting all day long. It's really good just to kind of start moving before you jump right into the workout. Another way you could warm up, it could be an either or thing, or an and thing actually, is adding some dynamic stretching. And so what I mean by that is dynamic means moving, not staying still, things like that. So don't do any stretching that you would hold of a position, but rather an example of a dynamic stretch would be like a walking lunge or like air squats and things like that. So just very easy dynamic stretching. Again, same purpose as jumping on the treadmill, just to kind of get your body warm and ready for the workout you're about to put it through. So then moving on is strength training, the strength training portion rather. And so there's a couple of things that I really want to highlight here, and that is to first and foremost start with movements that one, require quote unquote fresh muscles, and or two, start with the more heavier compound movements, which more or less are the same thing in some instances. And so for this movement in particular, good mornings, I always put these at the very beginning of my workout, even though they're not super complex. If I were to do this maybe 2 or 3, maybe even 4 exercises in, I wouldn't do as well. My form would definitely suffer because that movement, it may look easy, but it actually requires a lot of core strength. And so I always put it at the beginning just because I want my muscles, like I said, quote unquote fresh going into it. And then, like I said, always start your workouts with your heavier compound movements. And although this stiff leg deadlift that you're seeing now isn't heavy, or at least not heavy for me, it is still a compound movement, and I really, really want to focus on form on this one because it isn't a traditional deadlift. You're keeping your legs relatively straight and really just focusing on the pull in your hamstrings and glutes. And so again, I wanted to start with movements that require more effort. Then you want to move in and kind of finish your workout with any kind of accessory movement. But so as you can see, these next couple exercises are accessory movements. And I think, yes, they require proper form. Yes, do it right. Yes, don't rush them. But they don't require as much effort and as much concentration, I guess is the word, as your larger, more compound movements that you're moving more weight for. And then the last thing that I kind of wanted to touch on as far as strength training, it's not really, a certain order to do this, but I really would say that if there is a certain body part or a certain movement within a muscle group that you consider yourself weak at, start with that. Really focus on your weak areas, because if you start with those at the beginning of your workout, you're not going to be as fatigued, so you can really push yourself harder on those movements. And then, as you can see in this final clip, I like to finish with some kind of burnout. It's not necessary, but I really do like to, just to kind of give that last push of energy that I have, really fatigue my muscles, really get them burning. So that's what you see here with the jump lunges, supersetted with the reverse lunge. So that would conclude strength training as far as, the basic outline. Moving into cardio, I don't have any clips of that, but I will say this. So I get questions about this all the time. When should I do cardio, before or after I work out? And so my answer always is, well, it depends on what kind of cardio you're doing. If you're doing more moderate, more steady state cardio, something that you can maintain for a longer period of time, I would say you could do it before or after your workout. My honest opinion, especially for those of you who are just getting into the gym, just trying to be consistent, I would say do your cardio whenever you're more likely to actually do it. If you go through your workout, your strength training, and you know in the back of your head, oh man, I still have cardio to do, and you're less likely to do it and, would rather just walk out of the gym, then put it first. But if that doesn't really bother you and you would rather your muscles more fresh and you would rather cardio at the end to kind of like cool down and things like that, then put it at the end. So that's my thought on that. If you're doing any kind of HIIT cardio, or HIIT means high intensity interval training, if you're doing any kind of sprinting, very high intense spurts of movement, then I would definitely put that at the end of your workout, only because you do not want to fatigue your muscles for the strength training portion. So if you were to do that before, your muscles would already be quite fatigued prior to starting strength training. So that's my 2 cents about cardio. Research has not been really conclusive as whether it's better before or after. There's just mixed reviews. So that's kind of my take on it, and that's kind of how I coach my clients through when and how they should do their cardio. And then lastly, stretching is super, super important and probably one of the most underrated parts of a workout. And most time people don't even consider it a part of their workout unless they're like injured or going through physical therapy or playing a sport or something like that. You stretch before the game. But stretching is amazing if you can get it done after every session. I will say I'm guilty and I do not stretch after every time I'm in the gym, but I do try to do at least 3 times a week and set aside about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of my workout to stretch. And so I will say one quick thing about stretching. I'm not going to go into a huge thing, but the benefit of stretching, it helps with muscle recovery, it helps with flexibility, obviously, and it definitely helps with range of motion, especially if there are certain joints that you have noticed that are a lot tighter and that you can't move as efficiently and as effectively as you want to. Regular, consistent stretching will definitely do that for you. So that's all I got for you guys. I hope that was helpful and informative, so when you go to kind of create your workout, you have an idea of how to structure it. But yeah, like I said, thanks for listening. Hope this was helpful. Comment down below with any questions or comments that you may have, or anything that you would want to see in the upcoming videos.